I set up a rule for myself. If I don't use a photo accessory for a year, then I sell it. And exactly this happened with my square filter set. I tell you in a minute why I did it and what I use instead. For years I used square filters for controlling the exposure according to my needs. In my kit there was a filter holder with polarizer, neutral density filters, 3, 6 and 10 stop ones, and some graduated ones, soft edge, hard edge and reverse grad. I was happy with it, but it was big, so it took up quite a space in the bag, and also it was cumbersome to work with. When the weather was windy, I had to take extra precautions because it was acting like a sail, introducing extra vibrations. Also, they needed to be handled very carefully because they were fragile pieces of glass. Besides, they didn't always give the result I wanted. I had problems especially with the graduated filters. When the horizon was not a straight line and there was a protruding element like a hill or a tree in the frame, then there the exposure was pulled back unintentionally. And you couldn't do too much about it because everything was baked into the raw files. In the last 2-3 years, magnetic filters were introduced, which are much easier to work with, take up less space in the bag, and they are lighter. I really like the idea, so I bought a set for myself. They are from K&F Concept, which unfortunately doesn't sponsor this video. In this set, I have a circular polarizer. I have 3 neutral density filters, 3 stop, 6 stop and 10 stop ones. And I also have a black mist filter, which I usually use for video, and also a couple of adapters to be able to adapt it with different filter sizes. As I said earlier, the kit is very lightweight, so it doesn't take up too much space in the bag, and also I can just attach it to my waist belt onto my backpack. Overall, I'm really satisfied and happy with these filters. They basically solve almost all of my situation, except the ones where I need graduated filters. So what can I do? Luckily, the recent developments in the post-processing come to the rescue. With the latest AI tools available in the various softwares, masking, blending, and controlling luminosity became much easier. For example, with AI masking, you can select the sky, the subject, the foreground separately, and also you are able to invert these masks. It's really genius. I think it's one of the best inventions in years. So what's left then to do? Well, we still have to be on location and we still have to take those photos, which requires to be blended later in post-processing. And this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you how my workflow changed, what I do on location, and how I process the images at home in Lightroom. Okay, let's teleport myself to a beautiful sunrise location. Something's not right. It's not a sunrise location, it's a sunset location. I must have been doing something wrong. Never mind, it's a beautiful location, so I'm going to set up my tripod and take some photos. Let's do it. So here is the composition we're going to work with today. As I talked about it earlier, there is a protruding element in the landscape, the windmill, And if I'd use here a graduated ND filter, which would reduce the exposure on the sky, but it would also reduce the exposure on the windmill, which we want to avoid. So I'm gonna use here the flat clipping profile, which I talked about in a video earlier. I'm gonna link that video up in the corner, so if you want to know more about it, check it out. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna dial up and down the exposure and see where the highlights are clipping. You can see that they are already started to clip here. So I'm gonna look for that shutter speed when they are not clipping in 1/13 of a second. I'm gonna decrease the shutter speed by 1 stop here, which means around 1/6 of a second, so you can see the highlights started to clip already. So that's gonna be my normal exposure, and I'm gonna do a bracketed exposures and 2 stops between the photos, which means I'm gonna have 2 stops below that and 2 stops above this 1/6 of a second. So let's check. That's what's set here, 3 shots and 2 stops between those shots. And let's check if we have the self-timer. Yes, we have it. So let's go for it. 3 photos. One shot, 2 stops below this exposure, one shot, 2 stops above this exposure and this exposure. So here are the results. You can see this is the brightest exposure, which is going to be good for the windmill and for the foreground. This is the 2 stops below exposure, which is going to be perfect for the sky. And this is the normal exposure, which I probably not going to use. So I think we are finished here. There is only one thing left now. We have to go back to Lightroom and Photoshop and edit these photos. Okay, let's teleport back home. Something's not right. Ah! Oh yeah, I should have known I had to use my left hand for return. Okay, let's have a look at the photos in Lightroom. So here we are in Lightroom. These are the 3 photos we took for the final image. So you can see it's just clipping, so it would be almost good to work on this one alone. But I decided to merge the 3 images into an HDR image. Let's do that first. So let's merge this into an HDR image. Right, so let's leave the auto line and the auto settings selected. Go ahead. So first, what we're going to do, we're going to merge these 3 photos, and then we are going to create some masks which we're going to work separately on. So just wait a couple of seconds until the HDR is ready. So here we are. Yep, just created. So it's quite good. The black are a little bit low, but as you can see, it did some changes on the exposure already. But we don't care about these settings. We're gonna do our own settings later. So first, let's create some masks. Let's do a mask for the sky. Right, so it's detecting the sky, AI masking, and we're gonna rename it to sky just to know that what we are working with. And let's duplicate this mask. No, we don't wanna, we just wanna duplicate it. And let's intersect with this mask with a linear gradient. So that's exactly what I was talking about. So, and when doing this one, then as you can see, it's only the sky and the linear gradient mask will be combined. So the windmill is not included at all in this mask. So that's done. So we're gonna rename this one into sky red. So now we need another one for the foreground and for the windmill. So we're gonna create another mask selecting the sky, but in this time we're gonna invert it. And now it's only the foreground and the windmill is selected. So let's rename this one too, and that's gonna be foreground and windmill. Right, so we have now 3 masks, and we're gonna work on these masks separately. So first, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna adjust the sky red mask. So I'm gonna reduce a little bit the exposure, let's say 0.3%, maybe a highlight also a little bit, something like, yeah, like so. So that looks already really good. And let's work a little bit on the foreground. So what I'm gonna do here, obviously I need to raise the exposure a little bit because it's a little bit dark. So let's say 0.7 here. So that looks again quite good now. So the windmill, it looks brighter, but I noticed that if you look at this blade over here, that's a little bit brighter than the other one, and probably this one comes from the HDR merge. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna create here another mask just for this blade. So let's go into 100% view, and let's create a new mask, which is gonna be just a brush, and let's brush this, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's brush this area with, obviously with 100% flow, this area here, all of it, and obviously a little bit around here. And what we're gonna do with this mask, let's rename it to blade. We're gonna intersect with this mask with the luminance range. So we want to select only the white part and the slats here. So if I start to increase, you can see that it's getting selected better and better. You don't want to overdo it because then everything disappears. So like so, it looks quite good. But here and there are some parts which are also selected, but we can handle that. So how we can handle that, if you right click on this mask, double click on this mask, sorry, then we can do subtract, and we're going to subtract with a brush. So let's make it a little bit smaller, and let's try to delete these parts which we don't want in the mask. So let's do so. Let's make it a little bit even smaller. Right, also here we have some leftover. Right, we did a little bit too much, so I had to undo it a little bit. So we're going to subtract again, brush. Right, so this here, and this here a little bit. Okay, that looks good. So quite all right. What we're going to do here on this mask, we're going to reduce a little bit the exposure, like so, a little bit the white, like so, and the highlight. So if we look at it, it looks quite similar now to all the other blades. So that's good. We got this one now. And what else should I do? Let's adjust a little bit the temperature on the sky. So I'm going to select now the sky mask, which selects everything on the sky, not the gradient one. So I'm gonna make a little bit, just a little bit warmer, let's say around 15. And I'm gonna do something similar with the foreground. So let's say the temperature, like so, about 20. So that looks really good now. So we're getting closer to the final image. Okay, so what else can I do? I think this foreground needs a little bit clarity. Yep, let's pull up a little bit, just a tad bit. I don't want to overdo it. And now it looks quite good. So what we're going to do now, because I'm a huge fan of vignette, so I'm going to apply a vignette, make this one a little bit smaller. And how I'm going to do the vignette, I'm going to add another mask, which is going to be a radial gradient. Let's do this like so, nice and big one. Oh, where is it? There we are. I'm going to move around a little bit. And we're going to invert this one so you can see how and where it affects the image. So now we're going to just decrease a little bit. Let's see what it does. I don't like that it does too much on the left, so I'm going to move it on the right. So I'm going to move it to the right a little bit, like so. That's kind of looks good to me. So that's it. Okay, let's go back to normal view. And let's adjust the sharpness and everything. So what I do, I push Alt button on Windows, and then I try to pull the masking. I'm going to pull up to about a level where only the relevant parts of the image is sharpened. So it's going to be 40 in this case. And I'm going to crank up a little bit, let's say about 60 the sharpness here. Okay, so that looks quite all right. And maybe it needs a tad bit of vibrance. So I'm going to adjust the overall vibrance of the image a little bit. Like, let's say 20. That looks good. Maybe a tad bit of contrast from 7 to 10, just a little bit. Yeah, I like it. So this is what I was talking about. So we worked on this image separately, like separately on the sky, separately on the foreground and the subject. I also could have done 3 masks, separate, one from just for the foreground and just for the subject, but I think in this case it didn't need that level of, you know, masking. So there we are. Here is the final image. I'm going to import it and show it on the screen. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, then please don't forget to leave a like, and if you like the content on my channel, then please consider to subscribe. See you soon, and may the light be with you all.